Good afternoon. This is Attorney Vince Davis, and I'm with a very special guest, a previous host on this platform, and soon to return as a host, Miss Amanda Sisko. How are you, Amanda?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing good, Attorney Davis. How are you?
I'm doing really good. It's so good to have you back.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. And I
Now,
will hopefully be starting again very soon.
what state are you in?
I'm in Virginia.
All right. And you're going to be a host back on our platform?
Yes. I am. So there's a lot of things kind of up in the air right now. I'm working on getting into a new place, and I'm working on starting a new job as an EMT. So I'm trying to figure out my schedule, all that good stuff. So once I get that figured out, hopefully in the next few weeks, I will be able to start again.
All right. Since you were last on the show, what's been going on with you?
Well, my case is still ongoing. And as you know, CPS in the courts, the family courts usually do, there is a gag order on me. So I am not allowed to talk about my case. So I can't give any details, but once it's over, I have a ton of good advice to give our viewers on what the best things to do when you're involved in a case like mine are. But other than that, I became an EMT. I am studying law right now. I'm about to get my paralegal degree. I'm one semester away, but I think I'm going to put that degree on hold, and I'm just going to go ahead and go straight into my pre-law bachelor's and then get into law school. But we'll see how things go.
Well, that's
So,
great. I'm so happy to hear that.
thank you.
And when you apply or when you're in law school, be sure you discuss it with me because I can give you a lot of help.
Yes, I
You,
definitely will.
for this show, I wanted to tell you something that I had a discussion with a client recently, and I don't think I've ever had this discussion with anyone, but it's something that I always knew, but I never articulated. And it came up, and I had this discussion, and she told me something very interesting. She said, you've never discussed this in any of your videos, I don't think. She says, I've watched many of your videos, and you've never discussed this. And I said, oh, well, maybe I should discuss it. So I'm going to discuss it now. One of the things that social workers are trained in, and I don't think they call it this name, but the Army calls it this, and it's called PSYOPs, PSYH ops, OPS. And what it is, it's short for psychological warfare.
Mhm.
And when I first told the client this, she kind of giggled and laughed like it wasn't a real thing. And I said, well, you know what? Google it. Google it and tell me what it says. And she Googled it and she read the definition, which all of you watching this show, Google it. Google the term PSYOPs, and it's psychological warfare. And basically, what it is and the Army does it with against its enemies. Okay. And it is something that can be taught to any individual. It can be taught to any company. It can be taught to any government organization, and they can use it against you. And if you don't realize that they're using psychological warfare against you, you don't know. And
Attorney Davis, I have a question. Do you have
yeah,
any examples of how exactly they use PSYOPs?
yes, I'll give you a key example because this was what was being used in her case. A child was placed in a very close relative's home. Okay. Before the case started, she and this relative were like this. Okay. Like that. And as a matter of fact, this relative was her sister. Okay. They were siblings, close, and they were now grown adults. Well, CPS placed the child with her sibling. Okay. And slowly but surely, they turned the sibling against her.
I hear about that happening all the time.
It's psychological warfare. And let me tell you what happens. She relied on her sister for support, emotional support. psychological support, financial support. And slowly, the social worker was able to convince the sibling who had the child to abandon her sister psychologically, emotionally, and financially.
Her sister is in the mother, right? The mother of the child?
Her sister was the aunt of the child,
Oh, the okay, okay,
and my client is the mother of the child.
okay.
Okay,
So they
so
convinced the aunt to abandon
the mother.
the mother. Okay, okay. I'm just making sure I'm clear.
Okay, the mother and the aunt are sisters.
Mhm.
They're in their early 30s. So for 30 plus years, they've grown up together and they were close, a bond, a sibling bond. The social workers took the child away from the mother and gave the child to the sister, the aunt. And because they didn't want to give the child back to the mother, they carefully, over time, turned the aunt against the mother, her own sister. Now, neither the aunt nor the mother realized what was happening over the months.
Right. It's subtle
It
with the
is very subtle. And basically what they did was they started telling the aunt things that weren't true, things that were half truths, and they were spinning the truth against the mother, making her look basically like a monster when she wasn't. Now, was she perfect? No. But was she the monster they were portraying her to be? Absolutely not.
If I can say, Attorney Davis, if
Mhm.
you were to read the documents that have been written about me by CPS and Human Services, you would think that I am an absolute criminal monster. Like you would think that I'm psychologically insane and a danger to the public. Like it's horrible what
Right.
they do. Yeah.
So that is something called psychological warfare. Okay. They have removed the aunt from being a psychological, emotional, and financial support to the mother. Now, if that person has been supporting you for 30 years of your life, 30 plus years of your life, what does that do to you as a person?
Oh,
Well, it has a tendency to destroy you.
yeah.
And if you were a drug addict and you already had issues, it tends to make you want to go back to the drugs.
Yeah.
Now, do you think that the social worker was doing this knowingly or unknowingly? And have you ever heard of this happening in any case, any CPS case?
So, do I think the social worker was doing it purposely or unknowingly? That that's a difficult on the one hand, it's easy to say, oh, she was doing it on purpose, because CPS workers are so corrupt. But then on the other hand, I think these new CPS workers that are coming in, like the way that they are being trained, they don't realize like how abusive they are becoming. They're being trained to be. So, and my final answer is was this a seasoned veteran CPS worker or was this like a newer?
Oh, it was a 10-year worker.
Okay, so that I would say she was doing it purposely.
How many times have you heard that story? Because I've heard it over my 35 plus year career fighting CPS. I've heard it hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yes, I've heard that happening to grandparents, happening to siblings, happening to aunts and uncles, happening to even close friends or mentors to the parent, like or advocates is what I meant, not mentors, but advocates of the parent. They will
And
turn everyone against you.
and sometimes they are able to do it because they offer the aunt financial incentives,
Hmm.
money, medical benefits for the kid, babysitting for the kid, food stamps for the kid, which I'm sure benefits the aunt and her household as well. So, it's very, very subtle. Now, do you think that the social worker may have been trained to do this? officially or unofficially. I want to relate another story to you because this just happened as well. A guy came to me and I won't tell you his name, I won't tell you the county, but we're about to sue a county, okay? And a social worker allegedly told him that he was going to protect another social worker in his office, and that he allegedly said, I will sell anything I need to protect my coworker's job.
Hmm.
And allegedly, he lied to the court, verbally in testimony and in reports given to the court, lied against the parent, and lied to protect his coworker, another social worker. Now, time rolls on, and it comes out, and the judge makes a statement in court. Comes out that these lies are discovered.
Hmm.
And the judge even makes a comment about it on the record in court.
On the record. So there was a court reporter.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's good because in over here in my jurisdiction, family courts are courts not of record, so it's not automatic that you have to make sure you schedule your own court
In,
reporter.
right. In California, all CPS cases are on the record.
Oh, that's so good.
Now, the social worker planned to lie to protect his coworker. But he had the audacity to tell my client, the father, that's what he was doing. Now, can you imagine that if he had that audacity to do that, that that wasn't the first time he did it?
No,
This is
certainly.
something that he probably has done routinely to families in that county. And unfortunately, other parents and other families just didn't do anything about it or couldn't do anything about it or didn't find an attorney like me to do something about it.
Yeah.
So these things that these social workers either are trained formally or informally to do, they come out, you know, and they're so subtle. So those are just a couple of the examples that that come up.
Can I ask
But
you a question?
here's another one. Here's another one. I came across this in another county up north in California, and this is all allegations, okay? But in my mind, they are substantiated. The social worker made allegations against the mother regarding a 9-year-old child, okay? And after having met the mother and interviewing the mother, I felt that some of the allegations may have been true and some of the allegations may have been exaggerated. Well, the child was placed in a foster home picked by the social worker. And allegedly, the social worker convinced the foster mother how to coach the minor about what to say when the minor was interviewed by this social worker and when the minor came to testify in court. Now, does that seem not plausible?
Oh no, it seems very plausible.
It does. Because where do foster parents make their money?
From CPS, from
And who decides if foster parents get children?
the social workers.
So are foster parents beholden to social workers?
Yes, I believe they do feel that they are.
Now, allegedly in this case, and I'm not going to say the county, the foster parent and the social worker had a big falling out about something. And allegedly, the foster parent now is ready to sing like a bird.
I mean, it happens.
Now, allegedly she's a little hesitant because she's concerned about retribution.
Right. As I can totally understand.
Right. But what if this was true? Right? I have no idea if it's true or false. I'm just telling you a story about what I've heard and what people have told me. I don't know if it's true, but what if it's true? Is
Mr.
it
D,
is this beyond our comprehension that something like this could happen?
absolutely not. Now, I do have a question regarding that. If it were true and the only person who can help bring that to light is the foster parent herself or the CPS worker, if they decided to be honest, which is probably not going to happen. But if the foster parent knows that these illegal things took place, or these unconscionable things, does the foster parent have a duty to report it?
Absolutely. But are they going to?
I think there is an authoritarian element to CPS, and not only are the parents terrified of retaliation, I'm sure the foster parents are also afraid because they see firsthand how much power these people have.
Yeah. You know, many years ago, I was involved, and I won't mention the county. I was invited to speak to a community group, and in the group, in this community group, were a couple of retired social workers, CPS social workers, and after the meeting, they came up to me and they said, we're retired, but we'd like to meet with you and tell you about some of the things that we witnessed and that we may have been a part of um, while we were working. Okay, they never told me what it was. Okay, but it sounded like you know something wasn't kosher. And of course, I said, "Be happy to meet with you." Okay. Eventually, that meeting never took place,
Mm.
and I learned from someone else in the group that they became concerned because they allegedly found out that if they met with me, that there would be an issue regarding their retirement. I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I was told by someone completely, that was in the group.
Right.
And I left it alone. I mean, there's nothing I could do. I never knew what the allegations were, but I just had the feeling that, oh, we're going to have a big whistleblower here, event, and that
And that would have been great if that meeting happened.
right. But at that meeting, I had planned on asking them, could I, videotape it, something like that, because they could tell me anything and then say later, oh, I never told Mr. Davis that. But if they were, recorded and, but whistleblowing is a big deal. I mean, the person doing the whistleblowing, that's a hard thing to do, a hard thing to stomach. You're always looking over your back, your shoulder, because a lot of things happen and people that become witness to it and they don't want to talk about it. There was a guy, and I forget his name. He was a Los Angeles County DCFS CPS worker who wrote a book about the quote unquote corruption in CPS, and I think it was called Medical Kidnap, and you can buy it on Amazon.
That sounds like
And
a wonderful addition to my book collection.
and you can buy it on Amazon. It's called Medical Kidnap, and it was very unflattering to CPS in LA County. And I think the guy's name was Jerry Dominguez, if I remember correctly. I don't recall, but I think that was his name, and I think the name of the book was Medical Kidnap. But anyway, um, he died at a unusually young age of a heart attack.
Mm.
And you kind of wonder, was that somehow related or unrelated? But it reminds me of that lady senator, state senator, I think in Georgia. She
I
was
think I
on a
heard that story.
Yeah, she was there, her videos are on YouTube, and she was, I don't know if she was murdered or found dead under suspicious circumstances, but she was on a campaign to reform CPS in her state, and, I don't know if she died of natural cause they ruled natural causes or suspicious circumstances or whatever, you know, but, her story and her videos are on YouTube. She
Can
was
I
a very outspoken person against CPS.
That reminds me, Mr. Davis, can I share with you something that I discovered through my cleaning business? I had a client one day, and we had just started getting to talking, and I actually still need to reach out to her for an interview that I can officially record. But she was telling me about she has a son who has autism, and she went through issues with CPS regarding that for quite some time, and she shared with me, and I find this so very interesting. And I will certainly be investigating this throughout my career as a lawyer. But she was telling me how there's this big CPS in foster care. The whole thing is this huge system of fraud, of defrauding the federal government, where the Department of Medical Assistance Services is in on it, the Community Services Board is in on it, the Department of Human Services is in on it, Child Protective Services is in on it. So I found that very interesting. Have you ever heard anything like that?
I have not, but I do know that at the end of last month, I think, or the beginning of this month, President Trump and Doge issued an order or an executive order or something that they were going to cut down social services, including foster care and the whole system of juvenile justice where they take kids away.
Yeah,
They were going to shut down the federal funding, $355 billion.
that's a lot of money. Wow.
And basically, that would shut down CPS
Yeah,
nationwide. And there were rumblings that Trump was going to do something about CPS in his first term, um,
I
but
heard this.
but he never did. And there was such a backlash apparently at the state level and at community levels as well, because there were a lot of social services being cut out in that $355 billion. There was such a backlash that I think 2 days later, I think a court order stopped him and or he reversed himself. I think both might have happened, but basically the social services were going to be funded are still being funded. Now, I'm not saying that's bad and I'm not saying it's good. All right. I'm not making any judgment call. But apparently Doge and President Trump thought that there was a lot of waste in that. I don't know, you know, I don't know the numbers. I don't know where all the money goes. But apparently they thought it was. And uh, I don't know. It's just weird. $355 billion. I never knew it was that much money.
I mean, just think about how much money not just the states make from the federal government by removing children, but the municipalities as well, like the cities. I wonder how many things around us are funded using this blood money, basically, for lack of better words, from children being kidnapped and basically trafficked through the system.
Right. I wasn't, I didn't vote for Trump, but I have to tell you something. This Doge thing, I mean, the things that they're finding out, I mean, if this is true, I mean, it's kind of incredible.
Yeah,
All of this money that they're finding going places. I find it astounding, really,
yeah.
you know, and it's incredible. I don't know whether to believe it or not, you know, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it is. And, so I'm reading this book by Jordan Peterson called The 12 Rules of Life. And
Mhm.
he talks about like basically the constructs of society and like the individual. And he pointed out at one point in his book, I forget what he was exactly talking about, but he said one way to guarantee that something that was told is the truth is the level of anger that the public has over that thing. Like if they stay angry, of about that certain thing that was told, that pretty much guarantees that that thing was true.
You know, I watch Jordan Peterson. I'm kind of a fan, on YouTube. Um, he has a lot of interesting and intelligent things to say.
Yes, he
Um,
does.
I'm kind of a fan of his daughter, Michaela. Yeah, I don't know if you ever watch her.
I haven't watched any of her content.
Yeah, yeah. Both seem very intelligent, articulate. You know, but yeah, I know who he is, and you know, I watch some of his material.
Yeah. He
But
definitely has the ability to get his viewers engaged. One of the things that really got me interested in him in the first place was and what made him famous originally, it was his videos during his lectures as a professor at the University of Toronto. And I would see these video clips and he would just say the most interesting things. But what got me hooked on Jordan Peterson is the fact that during those clips, he used so many words that I was not familiar with. Like I learned so many new words watching his content. And that's one thing that I'm passionate about is like learning new vocabulary. I don't know why I'm such a nerd, but yeah, that's kind of what got me hooked and just the he is regarded by the New York Times as the greatest public intellectual in the Western world right now. And if you think
really,
it's really true, yeah.
when he first started getting popular, um, his government, the Canadian government, went after him and his
Oh,
license.
I know. And they took his license. Oh, I heard all about that.
Yeah,
And he talks about in his book, he talks about, that oppression and he says, do not stand down. Like if you witness oppression starting to happen, you stand your ground and you speak up about it because if you don't say something, that's just furthering, our society going into that said oppression. It's
right,
helping further that along
right.
by being complacent, by being afraid to stand up and put a stop to it and object.
Well, I want to circle back to the main topic that I was talking about earlier, and that was psyops. And
Yes.
people take a look at it, Google it, know that social workers use psychological warfare against you when they're gathering information. I tell people all the time, don't talk to the social worker without your attorney being present in person or on the phone. Um, and that's one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
And another reason why is because social workers sometimes tell you wrong information. And I don't know if it's purposely or I don't know if just because they don't know the law. But and this happens, one of the things where it comes up is social workers tell clients all the time, oh, we can't place your kids with relatives in another county, or we can't place your kids with relatives in another state,
I'm
or
all too familiar
or
with that.
we can't place your kids with relatives or friends in another country. All of those things are false. But did you know what? The federal money follows the kid.
Yep, yep.
So I guess that's why they can't place them.
Now, Attorney Davis, can I ask you something about the
Uh-huh.
psyops? So, as parents, because often parents who are undereducated and under employed and funded are often the ones who are targeted by CPS because they know that these parents don't have the ability or the money to fight back. So, as our viewers who are watching this video right now, is there a way? Can you give our viewers advice on how they can protect themselves from the CPS psychological warfare?
All I can say is that they have to get educated.
Yeah,
You know, education and knowledge is the only thing that they can have. And if they're not trained in this area legally or experience wise, they're going to have to, excuse me, talk to a lawyer. Um, hopefully in their area and get information.
now
Don't
through
try to don't try to figure it out for yourself. You know,
right.
you Googling something is only gonna take you so far, all right?
Right.
It'll take you to a certain extent, but to get to the next level, you're gonna have to talk to somebody, talk to a lawyer, you know, talk and there are some advocates out there that might be able to help you. But to get to that next level, you're gonna have to talk to someone that's trained in the law. You know,
Yes.
I've talked to advocates that know what they're talking about. I've talked to advocates that have no clue what they're talking
Yeah.
about. So you got to be careful about that.
Yeah.
So, you know, Googling will only take you to a certain extent.
Now, Attorney Davis, when speaking about information and educating yourself, haven't you written a book about, a CPS case when that happens? How can
I,
someone find that
I,
book?
you know, I want to say you can find it on Amazon. You can, but you can get a free copy as well. And I can't tell you where that is. If you call my office and say, "Hey, I want a free copy of Mr. Davis's book," they'll get you to the person who will email it or text it to you, because we have it in digital form as well. Also, and I don't know the link, but we have a maybe if you email Grace, our producer, Grace at vincentwdavis.com. I have something called a Stan Store. So there was someone in my office that said, "Hey, there's this thing called Stan Store. Why don't you start writing guides and books and stuff like that where you can put up there and people can go to your stand store and buy educational materials." So you can go to my stand store, and I think it's standstore.com/attorney VWD. I think that's the link, but if you don't want to know the exact link and that link doesn't work, email Grace at vincentwdavis.com, and Grace will reply and give you the exact link, and you can go to Stand Store and figure out, what materials you want to purchase. I have materials on there about how to fight CPS in your CPS case, and I even started putting materials up on how to sue social workers. So if you want to know about that as well.
Also,
So,
Mr. Davis,
but knowledge is the key. Knowledge is the key.
when I start my Fight CPS, the Civil Rights Struggle show again, is it okay for me to have all of that information kind of on my Facebook page
Oh,
for just
absolutely, absolutely,
awesome, awesome.
absolutely. All right. Well, Amanda, we've come to the end of the show, and I am so happy to have you back.
Thank you for having me.
So talk to Grace, schedule your shows again, and welcome back.
Thank you. It was good seeing you, Attorney Davis.
All righty. Bye bye.
All right, bye bye.